panel discussion on high-performing teams and performance management system. We keep talking about performers, potential employees in our organization, rising stars, good attrition, bad attrition, KPI, dashboard. So many things are there in performance management, right? So we have a panel here who's going to discuss about performance management system. So may I please request our first panelist speaker, Mr. Amit Kataria, to come forward and be here on stage, please. A global human resources expert with over 2 decades of international IT expertise, his focus lies in the development of creative talent acquisition tactics to alleviate the global tech skill shortage. He holds master's degree in both computer science and human resources, in addition to an honors bachelor's degree in physics. He is now defending PhD thesis in human resources. He is currently the Chief Human Resources Officer, CHRO, of a cloud-based company, Minfi, awarded Asia's top 100 HR Power Leader, CHRO of the Year, and HR Excellence Award for 2021 and 22. He is leading the charge to improve corporate HR practices and HR industry's access to top talent around the world by developing cutting-edge HR practices and technology. A very warm welcome, Amit. Next panelist speaker is Neha Paul, who works as a senior human resources professional with Prescient Healthcare Group. Neha is an experienced human resources professional and has worked with senior management to recruit employees, created HR policies and procedures and whatnot. She's been doing a lot of stuff in HR. A very warm welcome, Neha. Next panelist speaker is someone who works as a Deputy General Manager HR at Hitachi. She is an experienced senior corporate human resource professional with a demonstrated history of working in all domains of HR and D&I. She's done a lot of things in HR. It's a huge list of the processes she's handled as an HR BP, be it succession planning, employee engagement, performance management, compensation and benefits, DI, HR operations. That's Neha Agarwal. Thank you for coming, Neha. May I please request you to come forward. Next speaker on panel is someone who comes with an overall experience of 6.5 years in HR processes, L&D, TNI, LMS. She is working as an HR manager with SBI Card. Prior to SBI Card, she was working with Nestle. Any idea what's the name? Let me ask you. You have interacted with everyone when we did an activity. Any guesses? Her name starts with S.
Sushmita.
Okay. Sushma. Perfect. Yes, let's have Sushma on stage, please. Let's welcome her with a huge round of applause. Next speaker on panel is someone who works with the Jacques as HR lead. As an HR leader, she is very passionate about empowering individuals and organizations to thrive in today's dynamic workplace. With a keen understanding of human behavior and a knack for fostering inclusive cultures, she strives to create environments where every member can reach their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ridhusmita Roy on stage, please. So next is an important role for the discussion without whom we cannot have this discussion. What is the role about? A moderator, right? So next is a moderator of the panel, our esteemed panelist, Mr. Atish Bhattacharya. He is the HR head for Akaya and Microtech. He is a seasoned and talented HR professional with over 19 years of experience across diverse sectors and locations with proven expertise in leading transformation projects, HR business partnering, HR automation projects, talent management and development. Prior to joining Akaya, he has worked with MNCs like L&T, Voltas, Samsung, Bharti Infratel, etc. He has completed his post-graduation in human resources from XLRI. That was a certification program, I think. MBA HR from University of Pune. He has won a lot of awards. There's a long list of awards he has. Winner of Most Talented HR Leaders Award 2023 by World HRD Congress. He's a winner of Top 35 Young HR Leaders Award by TAPMEI. Then winner of HR Rising Star of the Year Excellence Award 2020 by HRD Awards, Asia in October 2020. He was recognized at India's Top 100 Emerging Leaders 2019 by Some HR in April 2019. He's listed as Top HR 100 Professionals under 40 by Jombay. A very warm welcome, Atish. Thank you for joining us today. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this panel with a huge round of applause. And with this, I would request Atish to take over. Over to you, panel.
Stuff. So first of all, thanks to Neeru and Career Changemakers for having us here. And I have a great panel with me from diverse industry. So thank you all for being here. My job is relatively easier because I gave tasks to these people to prepare notes and speak on multiple questions. In fact, what I've requested is we will keep it a little example based from whatever rich experience we have over the dais. So the topic that we are going to speak is how can we leverage technology for driving performance in the organizations. Now, all of you heard Vishnu speaking about multiple things that organizations are using the current scenario. We all talked about AI, ML, AR, VR, so on and so forth. I come from a brick and mortar industry, okay, so typically I represent a company called Okaya, and we are into batteries, okay, so we provide energy solutions to all of you, and we are also into e-vehicles. So not much for us, but yeah, what Vishnu was speaking was making a lot of sense because of late, in fact, last a couple of years, we have started seeing a lot of change in the traditional modern traditional, typically manufacturing-based companies also, because AI is taking over a lot of stuffs which were earlier more human-driven. So yes, it is impacting us as well. I will just request all the panelists, maybe just a quick intro of you and maybe a one-liner about how AI or the entire technology is being looked upon in your organization or in your experience. And with that, we will pick up the topic in a little more details. So I'll start with Shushmita first.
Thank you so much, Amit, Atish. And thank you so much, Changemakers and Neeru Monga to invite me over here. Okay, and thank you so much for this question and giving me the opportunity to say something. Every manager would want to increase the high performance of their own employees. And on the other side, this thing is possible by micromanaging with them. So what do you think? What are the things that we can enhance and we can create the team building, the high performance in that case? What are the ways? How technology can help to build high-performing teams? You can speak.
Basically, if you talk about creating a high-performing team, it's like technology can help you to continuously tracking, like in terms of the past data of the employees, like how the person has been performing in what job and what kind of task this person is doing, and also for the future like forecasting, like in terms of like what are the people who can like contribute towards like better roles cross or maybe in terms of cross.
Yes, technology is the only thing that support us specifically for building the high performance teams, and along the side there are some stack that we can enable and find out the solutions to make the impact in the organization, whether it regard the increasing the performance of the employees, whether building the teams, whether building and vendor utilizing the best optimized solutions by using the different technology in recent scenario.
Hello everyone, this is Neha from Hitachi. So I think talking about AI, Hitachi was one of the organizations that started its research on creating chatbots a decade ago, but it never came out in public. So due to some constraint and Japanese ideologies, we had to shut down that unit, but now it is activated again. But the main reason of shutting it down and having some ideologies behind not putting up AI into business was three. One, the privacy. Second, disrespect to the human intelligence. So a decade ago, it was thought that, if we are not respecting humans and we are comparing it to the intelligence of a machine which is inadvertently created by human itself, this is something not appreciated. And third, the acceptability. People were not ready to accept chatbots a decade ago. The Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, they were quite different that time. It was an era of millennials who were quite conservative. We are from the era of millennials, so we were quite conservative. And that's how the change happened. So if I talk about AI in this age, when the future workforce is about Gen Y and Gen Z, and millennials are just leading the workforce, AI is not something to be afraid of, but it's a big enabler. It's a big, big enabler if used correctly. So that ways, I think we can leverage the technology.
Thanks, Neha. I think that's quite an insight. In fact, I didn't know that Hitachi was one of the first movers in this particular space. So over to Amit, in fact. So Amit, I think on this panel is somebody who has been working a lot with the IT companies. His entire experience has been with the IT companies, and he has been the one who has been seeing this entire thing happening so closely. So Amit, from your experience and from whatever you're doing in your current organization, how much of AI or ML are you using?
Yeah, thank you, Adish. So what he meant to say that I'm the oldest one in the room, which is okay. But say, I remember the time where, when I started my career with Motorola, it was all the system where it paper-based. We had computers coming in, I look much older than that, but that's the time we started. And from there, what I've seen, and what I want to tell you all, which you take away today is, the speed of change today is very rapid in contrast to what it was before. And one example I can give you, I take it as, there were times when it took almost 1,000 years to have one change, or maybe reflect on the society. Then it came, it changed, took century, then it came a decade, then it came a year. Now it's a time when it takes not even months, days to change that. An example to it, see how fire and invention of wheel changed the human society, right? Then industrialization changed the society in few centuries. Then internet and all this changed in few decades, and now AIs and all changing the world in days. And if any one of you happen to go to my LinkedIn, you say the first word I've written out there is humanizing AI. And that's the impact we are facing today. So we'll be discussing much more fascinating facts on the topic we are. But from the time, and to conclude this just specific statement is, the change is very, very rapid. And as a HR, we see that if we can combine the change, the velocity, to making your profession more better in the society and enabling Gen Y, Gen X, or whatever you want to name it in terms of your employees, would have a very beneficial effects. Over to you, Atish.
Thank you, Amit. I think humanizing AI is something which we would want to hear more from you in the course of time. So over to you, Mridusmita, from your experience. I understand that you also have a lot of tech experience and being a HR leader for a tech company. So from your own experience.
So yes, my name is quite long. Smita is fine. So I always give this disclaimer to everyone. So earlier today, I think we just, some of us mentioned that till now, even it is a big problem that we face candidate dropout, right? That is a big problem. And really hats off to all the talent acquisition specialists who handle that anxiety, that the person will not turn up on the day of joining. So AI is able to help us even in that. So chatbots can reach out to the candidate. With the help of AI, you are able to analyze the body language of the person who is going to join you, take the insights and feed it back to you, where you can actually decide whether you need to have certain step to be taken to address that concern, go back to the candidate and rework on things. So adding on to what Neha just mentioned, I think we need to look at AI from a place of integration, of humanizing it, and not live in the fear of AI, because it is there. Let's just acknowledge it. It's there. I think we have to look at it as an enabler of doing the processes that we were already doing. So yes, we'll discuss more about it.
Great, thanks, Smita. Over to you, Neha, on your thoughts.
So basically, as of now, my company haven't started using it, and we don't have any idea of being into a startup. So as of now, I don't have any thoughts. Thanks.
Perfect, great. Thank you, everyone. And I think we all were scared when we were childs, na? Like, there was a कहावत ना, by which my mother कि जल्दी से सो जाओ नहीं तो वो आ जाएगा. तो अभी organizations में I think some of us are actually going through that. जल्दी से कर लो नहीं तो AI आ जाएगा. So I think with this, I want to hear your views on folks. I think one of the most important thing that an organization decides to focus on when it begins is to have a clear-cut identified goal, followed by a mission vision statement. And when it comes to the individuals who are employed in the organization, we talk about the goals aligned with the organization goals, or the KRAs aligned with the organization. Now, when I think of my career, so this I'm talking of about 18, 19 years earlier. So when I started off my job, the first thing that I did was took out a paper wherein my job description and the KRAs were written, we signed it off. Now, gone are those days. Now is the day of tech. So I want to hear from Amit and Shushma. In fact, how are you people, or how are you folks in your organizations tracking the goals and the KPIs of individuals? And what are the technologies that are being used in this particular area?
Yes, thank you so much. However, when you're talking about the tools, there are so many tools that most of the organization are using. Like you can give the name like Tableau. We can Tableau, Salesforce, ServiceNow. Most of the organization are just become habituated with this kind of tools. But by keeping track of all the metric, that's very important part, because how to use this technology, how to enable them within the organization so that everybody can adhere and everybody can understand how to use this technology and how to use these tools. That's more important things. So my understanding is, first of all, we should know the progress of our goals. We know, because what are the goals, what are the KPIs that our manager has identified and which set the goals. But when we track out the progress, we can identify the area of improvements and we can take the informed decisions accordingly. And the next thing, we can create the healthy management system in the company. Like we should get to know about the company processes, customer satisfaction, what are the technology we are using. And in the last, I can say everybody, for example, you know your goals, you know your KPIs, but if your manager give you the space, so you can identify, you can be more accountable, you can be more responsible by achieving those targets. So I would say, because if you are prepared in advance about your goals and KPIs, if you know how you can track those metrics, so you can be more accountable in the end.
Great, thanks, Shushma. Amit.
Okay,
I
great.
think more relevant for you, because you must have people
Yes.
spread across.
Yeah, Adish,
geographies.
it's close to me as well. As I said, I'm a huge fan of automation in HR. Reason is, as Vishnu was saying, more we move towards the ages of next technology waves, the technology will make your life easy, whereas it will also bring the efficiencies in the process. And if you are not riding that efficiency, it means you are not doing justice to overall what are you doing as your job, and second, what you want to bring to your organization, as well as bringing to your team. Learning has to constantly involve. And in the particular context of this question, the tools of PMS, how we do that, I would spend around 3-4 minutes, if that is permit, Atish. So you all remember, since you're spending considerable time in a human resource function, there was the time when we learned about, about the bell curve, MBOs, peer reviews, and all that. Those were the methodologies, I would say, when we were in our MBAs, we read, this is how it to be done, great books about it, renowned authors and all that. Off lately, what happened is, we continue to adopt one or other way, but we kind of set on the same path that the KPIs has to be set. And you can refrain it to between the KRAs, goals, whatever nomenclature you use, but ultimately what used to happen and still happening in majority of organization is that you give them goals, you measure them at different frequency of quarter, biannually, annually, and then you put a result and put a bracket and I would say a mark on performance of individual in organization. And that's how I think needed to change fundamentally in the approach of HRs, that how do we evaluate the plan, how do we evaluate things. In there, Atish, what happened last 7-8 years, the OKR came, the new methodology, which I again, since I believe in that, I really want to experiment. We don't want to shy away, okay, this is what it is. So we were the early adopters. The company called Insight, I used to work, that's again, Fortune 200 company. And OKR were brought by a company called Intel, right? Then Google adopted it, huge fan, things were. And the one very beautiful thing in this methodology is that your objectives are cascaded from top to down. So if your X objective is shared by CEO of the firm, even your L0, L1 will have a portion of that objective towards the delivery. Isn't it something phenomenal at the level where you see that you feel part of something big? And that's I think, a very, very, I would say, drastic change I've seen in the mindset of my employees or employees of the world. When you feel engaged in the growth of your organization, you resonate more towards the vision, you resonate more towards how you are taking it to the next level. And these are the things. We will, of course, talk about how we enable the OKRs, what we do, what not do. And one methodology we believe in this, and I would, in the last two statement, would say, whatever you do or whatever approach or method you take towards building your PMS, you have to have a very single version of truth towards the data and the goals. What I've seen my friends and peers doing that, towards the data collection, they use multiple sources and they go collecting the parameters, indicators from different ones. That's what we make a major mistake doing that. So whatever, in the context of time, we will elaborate more if time permits, but then the single version of truth is one aim thing, and the approach, I call it smart approach, we follow, and if time permits, I will explain more.
Yeah,
Atish.
please
Thank
go
you.
ahead. I have got a go ahead from Niru.
Yeah.
You can speak on.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, so what the SMART goal is, as I said, in the objectives, in OKRs, when we follow, you are putting one goal and then cascading it. And what SMART means is, your goals has to be very clear. S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, H stands for achievable, R is realistic goals, and T is time bound. It's a very known philosophy in PMS, but that truth remains the truth always, no matter how old it gets or not, but then eventually it is. So when we put into OKR, simplicity is the key. Don't put hundreds of goal KPIs into objective and then people get confused. Here I want to tell you here is, once you start doing it, keep it concise and precise. Use single version of truth. And the last thing is that you really need to have a mechanism in place to put those KPIs somewhere. Excel won't work in this scenario, but there are many specified tools which you can use, very cheap, very affordable, where you can drive this. I individually did it many times in organizations I worked without breaking the bank. I remember the times, when I was implementing HRMS, one of my company I worked, it took me 6 months to implement Adrenaline. That was a software which was on-prem software. Lots of my energy, bandwidth went into even implementing. And by the time the system got implemented, I was so exhausted with the team that I had no energy to use that mechanism further along, right? So see the impact. Now the world has changed. As I said, AI has enabled us to just click and play systems. You do that, there are a couple of weeks it takes to take the specified solution, put your objectives, align everyone to those common KPIs, and start rolling. And there would you see the magic happening to your workforce. And that's what I've experienced firsthand. And any one of you interested, we will connect one-to-one and take it forward.
Great, thanks. Yeah, Neha, please.
If I can just add one thing. So in my previous organization, we were using SuccessFactors to
Which
manage
organization, if you don't mind sharing?
Suez.
Cool.
It's a French multinational, and we were using SuccessFactors. And there, a functionality was inbuilt that if you can punch in your role into the system, it will auto-populate your KPIs. And then you just have to tweak with the weightages, with the time allocation, and with the targets. It will be absolutely predefined target. So that became kind of a ready-made guide to employees, and that give us an edge to see whether all the goals are very proper, prim, and aligned to the organization. So creating a directory of goals at the back end.
Great. Thanks, Neha. This looks a pre-era of ChatGPT, in fact, success factors. Interesting. So I think moving on, the one thing which all the HR folks sitting in this room are dreading every day. Okay, any guesses? Anything that? Talent, yeah, fine. More than talent? Who said that? Yeah, so I think attrition is, so talent is one part, wherein attracting talent, keeping them engaged. But what we all fear is losing them. Okay, so I think talent attrition is something which all of us dread in our day and night of our jobs. So my next question to the panel is around the attrition. Okay, so my question is to Neha and Smita. Is attrition good? If you feel good, why it is good? If you feel bad, why it is bad? And what are some of the things that you are leveraging technology to predict early attrition or early movement of talent from your organization? And how has this technology helped you to retain people? I think I'll just twist it at a little later, maybe. How is that technology is helping you to retain people? So over to you, to Neha, share your thoughts, and then Smita.
Too many questions in one question, Atish. Okay, I'll answer one by one. So if I talk about attrition, I think attrition to me is a fitment issue. We all have been looking at it through a different lens of getting people separated from the organization, but if we see the crux of, or the main root cause of why people are getting separated from the organization, it is about fitment. So at Hitachi, we have been doing this new joinee evaluation on quarterly basis, and then 6 monthly probation takes care of the complete evaluation. And almost in 90% of the cases, we have found that whatever the recruitment model we follow, usually people are a good fit, but yes, even if you are using AI, you are using aptitude test, attitude test, any kind of methodology, there would be 10-15 people who are not right fit for the organization for any of the damn reason, for their own personal reason, for their professional reason. And even if they are very much a good fit for the organization in initial 3 months, as we spoke about the onboarding and the induction part, after 6 months, after 1 year, they have changed their own goals, they have changed their own personal agendas. So that way, it is a fight for fitment. So if people are leaving for a right fitment, maybe because of their personal fitment, compensation fitment, growth fitment, or anything, it is a win-win situation for both organization also and employee also, because organization also doesn't want misfit in the organization. They also don't want someone called as toxic employees who can, spread that toxicity in the other part of the organization, preaching people that, this is bad, this is bad. We want positive people in the organization. So that's, we are also happy. Such people leaving the organization, we are happy for them finding their right fitment. So attrition for me in nutshell is fitment.
Great. Thanks, Neha. Any thoughts on how you are using technology to identify early attrition? Or
there is no best way to find a thumb rule to retain talent, and technology definitely can enable you to keep records, to keep your exit interviews prim, to help you jot down the pointers, to help you give a very good exit analysis or attrition analysis. But there is no perfect strategy to retain people. It's all about hyper customization, as Vishnu spoke about while opening up the address. So if you can give, as Amit also talked about, if you can give them a good engaging career, if you are able to give them a proper path to their success, And no matter if they are high performing and they want, an edge compensation, if you can afford that, then also you can retain them. So it's all about you customizing and giving that non-vanilla and very, very personalized approach to each talent or each hypo.
Great, interesting. Smita, your thoughts?
Sure. So, whenever we get a resignation mail, everyone is at HR here. So, what are the first few thoughts? Just raw thoughts whenever we get a resignation mail.
Who is the best fit to replace him?
यार आप लोग सच नहीं बोल रहे हो यार.
I agree, Atish.
आप लोग सच नहीं बोल रहे हो.
I
मतलब
think
you
he
guys are.
cracked it. Yes.
Neeru, we will meet after the conference and speak about it.
Some insights there. Yes, we do have the insights partially, and as we cracked it, we wonder कितना CTC मिला होगा, कितना offer मिला होगा, कुछ additional benefit मिल रहा है क्या? So compensation, benefits. Next is what is the role the person is being offered. I think these are the first few questions which we immediately have. Job location, right? Work from home, has the person got a hybrid opportunity, remote opportunity? Yes.
You send them to my office tomorrow.
Right. So I think these are some of the questions that we immediately think of when we get that mail, right? So if we want to focus on attrition and we want to manage it, I think partially it can be managed if we take care of these things. But in my opinion, taking care of these things is a short-term approach. It will work in the short term. You have a personalized benefit plan, a very good inclusive insurance plan, very lucrative compensation. The person will stay back, probably no. But again, this is a short-term approach, in my opinion. The long-term lens of looking at it is, I think, to focus on the culture of the organization. Because you don't want only to retain talent, you want to retain best fit talent. Like Neha mentioned, that, some attrition is good, some attrition is bad. So, yes, you want to retain the best fit talent, and for that, we have to invest in the culture of the organization. Now, the big question is how? How do we translate, having the culture aligned into actionable steps? So I think here HR folks play a big role in bringing an alignment between the culture and the business and the vision of the organization. So let's say in Agicus we base our mode of work on authentic leadership, right? So as an HR team, it has been our endeavor that what does authenticity mean at different levels in the organization? Say it could be for a person who has just joined the organization. What does authenticity mean for that person? If a person is in the role of a quality analyst, what does authenticity mean? If a person is at a managerial level, how does he authentically have difficult conversation? How does he or she handle feedback conversation? So I think HR folks have a role to play in enabling the leaders, the managers at different level into translating the culture into actionable steps. This is one example of it. For all our organizations, there will be different business requirements, different visions, different ethos, different fundamentals. But what we need to identify is how does it align to the vision and how does it translate into actionable step. Yes, it will not reap benefit overnight. It will not be as quick as, giving a higher compensation and retaining a talent. But it will give you benefit over time. Reason is members these days, they focus much on building a sense of purpose and sense of belongingness. I think this is a major shift that has come post-pandemic. We, overly obsess, and rightly so, on belongingness. We want to feel a sense of purpose. I think to be able to manage attrition, it is of very high importance that we bring that alignment between the culture and the business and vision in the long term, and obviously we know what to do for it in the short term.
Great. Thanks, Smita. I think moving ahead, I will just have one last point to discuss. This is views from you, Amit and Neha. In terms of, Neha Agarwal, of course, talked about being at the right fit in the organization. So how do you identify who is a right hire in the organization or who is a wrong hire in the organization? And the skill fitment issues which Neha just mentioned. And how is technology helping you identify such folks, and what do you do about it? So first, Amit, maybe.
Yeah, very relevant. I think most of the HRs do struggle with that part, that you as a function are tasked to bring the best face first, and second, the people who are aligned to you in terms of your vision, cultural alignment, taking company to the next level. And I'm very honest on this saying it, there is no magic wand to judge that or create that. You have to use your whole wisdom, experience, data, whatever you have, in those 30, 40 minutes when you talk to a person and gauge that. And I personally feel it's not practically possible. You cannot have a true reflection on anyone in those 30, 40 minutes, 1 hour, to gauge that is this person a really best fit, or is it mediocre fit, or whatever. You could find to a level of degree, but precision is something a key. And I feel all HRs, if they crack this code, are the greatest HRs. And there are very few people I know in my circle who have this art of knowing who is the best fit. But what I personally follow, and maybe I would learn from this discussion today as well, at the different level of hiring, you need different skills, different motivation, different psychic. And I go from top to bottom is that if it's a very strategic hiring, it involves this person to be more involved in decision making, taking the next direction of company, or carrying a quota of anything, be it HR function, shared services, or whatever. We'll go with the approach which is business case scenarios. It's a narrative-based interviewing technology. We ask this candidate, we give all upload. So typically, you as a HR would question candidate first. I don't do that anymore, and we as a company don't do that. In the first 2 meetings, typically, we give them all upload about us, what we've been doing, what we want to do, what is, how the pedigree looks like. And from the next 3rd, 4th discussions, we want to give, or we usually give to that, is a very elaborate business case we want this person to solve. And give him a week or 2 weeks time to prepare and come back to present to us in a role-based scenario. And it's a multi-geo role-based scenario. And I'm only talking about these strategic roles. And I will explain more roles as well if time permits. So if this guy, first of all, it's tell me how much interest level you have. From your busy life, if you are spending few hours creating a business case, Firstly, it tells me you are intrinsically motivated towards the job. Forget about the money part, whatever it is. But then you are aligned that you want to join us. Then when you come as, there are multi-geo leaders. One is acting as a CIO, CFO, business owner, whatever it is. Among 5-6 different internal company executives, this chap is presenting a business case. The depth of that case tells us how aligned or maybe what is the pedigree this particular individual has in terms of its functional skills. That solves most of the problem for us. And it's a 2-hour discussion we align for that particular candidate. And for me, it worked really well. If you see, we spoke about attrition, and most of the panelists, I agree that the infant attrition is the best attrition you could have. Forget about the non-regretted one. I say if you in an organization have the infant attrition, you are doing something very, very right, because you are rooting out the problem area before it becomes or takes you to the root canal problem, right? So that is one thing. Now the strategy role taken apart comes to the mid-level and junior level one. So the junior level I've had almost like 5,000 people in last 6 years, if I remember correctly, from different universities, different boards across the globe. And first, when I started, I was in the same league. I will go with the old, fancy assessments, taking out the functional skill, write a code, this and that, and 100 different things, spending huge money, time, and all that. But later I realized it's not what I'm actually looking as a company. What I was looking is that how they could be better learned. So we discussed about the one top strategic role. Now I'm telling about the 0 roles. Then, if Atish permit, I will keep speaking on. So the 0 roles are the one L0s, L1, which are coming fresh out of the campus. And I did the same thing 7-8 years back when we were hiring. Lots of assessments, lots of time. And it resulted it eliminates the people at the level. Out of 2,000 people, you eliminated 1,000 and then 500 and then 100, and you took best of 50 of it. It did not work for me. Like, fine, we had the best of the brains, but it did not work in terms of cultural alignment we were looking and people who were, as I said, motivated to work with us. So what we started doing off lately is, we took all the technical assessments out. All technical assessments out. What we started doing is, we just had one aptitude test, a good aptitude test, and then one-to-one peer round, and third is HR round, to see how are you thinking about the company and where your future goes. So in one apti, if you make at certain level of elimination, then it's all about discussion that what you want to do with us. All we used to ask is what you want to do in technology or maybe in your career. Once the candidate is very clear that be it probably in deep tech, in data sciences, DevOps, full stack, whatever it is, we just used to talk about that and close that loop. And it worked wonders for us. Now we have, and I'm talking about the last company I worked with, it's called Insight. Now we have like hundreds of people at the level of 2 to 4 years of range who are beating 10 years guys in their own scope. Can you imagine that? Because it's not what we had for them for a skill, but we had for them skill. And the last statement before I give Mike, I learned, I was talking to somebody in AWS, and I still remember this case because, I was talking to her, she became friend, and I asked, what's your background? And she said, I was a pastry chef, and she was handling a sales in AWS. I said, what? I was confused, I thought I heard something else, and she said, I was pastry chef. And then, of course, I was really intrigued, and then I asked, how come you are in this function now? And then the whole story folded, that company hired for will, right, but not the skill. And that's the philosophy I think most of the upcoming new age managers or the people like us started believing in off lately. And I think if you really want to do something which is crazy enough for you to change the whole landscape, the way you are hire people for their intent and will. You can compromise a little bit about the skill they are looking forward to, but because technology is changing that very often. So if you get that right, your whole match will be right. Sorry, Atish, I took a long time.
That's okay. I think will over skill. One last closing statement from Neha Paul and Shushma on improving performance, even if people are working hybrid.
Improving performance, pardon once again.
improving performance using technology when people are working hybrid?
So, sure. So, when you are actually working in a hybrid model, it's very important to have such tools because it will actually, show the efficiency of the employee, like how he or she is performing within the organization. So, number one is it's, project management system, which is majorly used by the IT people. We have tools such like Jira, Trello, and Asana. So by the help of this tool, we would be, able to track we are able to assign the task, to the employees. We can track their performance, and maybe we can collaborate with them with the project's part itself. This is number one, and second is like it's communication and collaboration, platform where we can use the tools like Slack, right? We have Microsoft Teams and maybe Zoom getaways also. By this, we can, again, have that collaboration within the team. And the third one is, performance management analysis. We have the tools like Halogen and Bamboo HR, where we can, recognize the contribution of the employees, like how they are performing. We can track those things, and accordingly, we can give them the rewards, maybe in monetary terms or maybe in, gift cards. And the fourth tool is, which is most important in a hybrid model, which I feel like is video conferencing tools. We already have Microsoft Teams, Zoom calls, and apart from that, which we can use in the hybrid mode. And apart from that, yeah, I guess these all tools are very important if you are working in a hybrid model. Only one thing which is more important for me is like you need to see, the job specification of, within the organization, like which tool would be the best, to use it across. And apart from that, yeah, I guess this is all tools which we can work upon right now. And yes, the biggest key aspect to use all these tools is collaboration. The more you communicate with employees, the more they get motivated, and the more connection they would be having for the company. And I guess like this, we would be able to build the performance team. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Neha. I think we will close it here. Okay, so unfortunately, in the interest of time and in the interest of the next panel, we have a powerful panel, the upcoming one. So thank you very much. Thanks to all of you. I think we all wanted to speak more. Neha, Niru, you will have to invite us.
It was such an interesting discussion.
For a half-day session at least, and 30 minutes each for each. 1 hour for me.
So thank you so much once again, everyone. It was wonderful hearing from you. Please stay back. As a token of our appreciation, I would like to...
Niru, before that, I'll request all the panelists to be in the front.
Sure.
Let's have a group photograph, guys.
Yes, sure.
It will never come to us.
Do you want to take it in front of the board? So would request you all to please stay back. May I request Piyusha to do the honors? We would like to present you memento as a token of our appreciation.
And I'm sorry if I bored you guys.
Not at all. It was lovely hearing from everyone.
So before Niru